Apple's latest phablet takes the familiar iPhone formula and tweaks it once again. It's not going to wow you with the new design or massive innovations. But the iPhone 7 Plus is a great phone. It offers everything the iPhone 7 does: speedy performance, water resistance, loudspeakers, great cameras, but adds some clever features that in many are more important than flashy specs. On the other hand, the 7 Plus costs a small fortune. The weak pound means this is the most expensive iPhone we've ever seen released on the UK. If you're dead set on an iPhone, though, this is the one I'd recommend, not least because the iPhone 7 Plus's battery life is excellent. Let's talk about iPhone 7 Plus design. The shape and feel of the iPhone 7 Plus is very much like that of the two versions before it. It's big, properly big, especially when you add a case to it. Yes, it has an expansive screen, but it's the iPhone 7 Plus's height that makes it a handful. If you haven't used a phablet before, it's worth testing out first. I found it takes about a week to get accustomed to a larger phone, but I wouldn't go back. There's just so much more you can do with a screen this size, but some will struggle to use it easily. In other respects, the design has been refined a little. The antenna bands that strap the back now curve across the top and bottom edges of the phone. On the back there's a far more pronounced camera bump. There are two brand new iPhone 7 Plus colors to choose from and both feel very different. The first is jet black, which has a slick, almost ceramic, feel to it. It looks fantastic, it's great, it's the color I'd choose. There are a couple of catches, though. You'll need to polish it regularly to get fingerprint marks off it, but more worryingly, it marks with fine scratches a little too easily. If you do choose it, you'll need to treat it with kid gloves to keep it looking its best. The new black version looks like a darker version of space gray. Oddly, though, it doesn't have the same gray texture as other iPhone colors, which means it's a bit slippery. I wouldn't use it without a case. But when you've seen as many smashed screens as me, you'd use a case for any phone. Those alterations are all cosmetic, though. There are three really important changes of which you should be aware when it comes to the 7 Plus. The first is that it's water resistant to an IP67 rating. That means you can submerge it in up to 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes. It's a great addition to the iPhone, especially if, like me, you've accidentally dunked phones and ruined them in the past. The second is a change to the iPhone 7 Plus's home button. Gone is the iconic flick to which we've become so accustomed. It's not a button at all now, but rather it's a capacitive pad. It recognizes your fingers in much the same way as the touchscreen does, so that means you don't actually depress it. Instead, the clever boffins at Apple have used the rumble provided by an upgraded haptic engine to make it feel as if it's been pressed. It works, too. It took me minutes to get used to the new feel, and now I prefer it, if only because it's a lot less likely to go wrong now that it's no longer mechanical. Of course, it still comes with the excellent Touch ID fingerprint scanner built in. The third big change will likely affect you the most. It's the now infamous removal of the traditional 3.5mm headphone jack. Yes, it's an annoying omission, but it hasn't bothered me as much as I thought it would. The 7 Plus comes with a small cable adapter that is now permanently attached to my Sennheiser Momentum 2.0 headphones, and you also get a pair of Lightning AirPods for good measure. What Apple is really trying to do here, though, is move us all towards wireless headphones. I'm a convert to them simply for their convenience, and there are now plenty of excellent wireless headphones to choose from. Judging from Apple's launch of the iPhone 7 Plus, another reason for removing the headphone jack was to accommodate the new haptic engine. It does add a new element to using the phone. Vibrations are now a lot more nuanced, so you can tell what type of notification you're getting without having the sound on, or looking at the screen. Our iPhone 7 Plus, screen and speakers. Well, Full HD resolution sounds old hat now. Plenty of phones from Samsung, LG and others have packed ultra-sharp Quad HD screens for years. The iPhone 7 Plus doesn't follow suit and keeps to what Apple designates as a Retina display. This just means you can't really see the pixels, but the pixel density isn't as high as on, for example, the Samsung Galaxy S7. I don't care one jot. This is my favorite display on any phone, regardless of resolution. Full HD is still plenty sharp for everything barring virtual reality, where the screen sits an inch from your eyes and is amplified by lenses. The iPhone 7 Plus's screen might not have the highest resolution, but it has the widest color gamut. It uses something called DCI-P3, a range of colors used by movie makers that encompasses a larger spectrum, allowing for more realistic and diverse tones. It looks superb, with the extra area afforded by the bigger screen making it even better than on the 4.7-inch display of the smaller iPhone 7. The colors are great, but it's also bright, so it can be viewed even in strong sunlight. It helps that it's not very reflective either. Binging on Netflix is a joy, particularly if you use the tremendous built-in speakers. These are excellent for a phone. For starters, they're very loud enough that I was easily able to hear over the cacophony of a busy kitchen with the kettle boiling and frying pan sizzling. They're not particularly refined, however. At the top volume the iPhone 7 Plus can sound a little harsh, and there's very little bass. Still, they're top-notch for a phone. Now, let's evaluate iPhone 7 Plus performance. Much was made of Apple's new A10 Fusion processor when it was announced. It uses 2 low-power cores that are for doing everything not particularly taxing, such as texting. 2 other, more powerful, cores take care of all the heavy lifting, 3D games and other apps that need a lot of processing chops. It's not a new invention. Android phones have been using this system to good effect for years, but it's nice to see Apple taking it up now, since it tends to lead to improved battery life. It's not just about efficiency, though. The 7 Plus is a stonkingly fast phone, the most powerful we've ever tested on trusted reviews when it comes to our standard range of benchmarks. While the iPhone 7 Plus has 3GB of RAM minus 1GB more than the iPhone 7, this doesn't affect the results. It's on a par with the standard iPhone 7 and faster than any of the competition. It's currently the most powerful phone you can get. In practice this all means that it's butter smooth in day-to-day use. I've never experienced any lag or apps opening lazily. This should be a phone that performs to the highest standard for a few years to come. Another important thing you should know: iPhone 7 Plus is run by iOS 10 and some sophisticated and advanced software. Part of the speedy feel comes from the new iOS 10 operating system, which is a little snappier than before. It's not wildly different to previous versions, but as always Apple has refined all the most important areas to make a more comprehensive, but still easy to use, interface. Some of the biggest improvements have come to Apple's core apps. iMessage is now full of clever features and has its very own mini app store. You can draw pictures to send to your friends, search for funny GIFs or even send people the track you're listening to on Apple Music. Talking of Apple Music, the streaming service is also a lot more refined. It's catching up fast with the competition, thanks to this latest update. Photos has replicated a lot of the excellent Google Photos functionality and cleverly groups people and locations together for easy searching. Some of the best changes have happened to the previously underutilized lock screen, control center and notifications. You can now directly respond to notifications from the lock screen, and the control center now has 3 pages you can swipe through for additional options such as Apple Music controls or to directly manage HomeKit-compatible smart home products. Unfortunately, there's still no shortcut to settings. There's plenty more to discuss about iOS 10, from updates to Siri to the ability to, at last, get rid of those bloatware apps we had a special folder for. Yes, that's right, you can finally delete the stocks app. If you want to find out everything about iOS 10, and how to use all the features to the max, then read our iOS 10 review and guide. Before I move on to the iPhone 7 Plus's camera, though, I'd like to cover 3D Touch a little. 3D Touch was a feature first demoed on the iPhone 6s, which opens additional options when you press the screen harder. I thought it was a great idea then, but it never quite lived up to its potential. It just didn't do very much. It does now. For example, you can hard press the torch icon to offer 3 levels of brightness, or get travel times to your favorite locations on the third-party Google Maps. 3D Touch has finally grown up and is a unique feature you can't get from any other company. Let's have a look at the camera of iPhone 7 Plus. The iPhone 7 Plus comes with 2 cameras on the back, but acting as one. We've seen dual cameras before on the LG G5 and Huawei P9, but Apple hasn't added a wide-angle lens like on the G5, or a black and white one like the P9. Instead, the iPhone 7 Plus uses its second camera to provide zoom without sacrificing quality. You can, of course, digitally zoom while taking a photo on any phone. Digital zoom essentially crops the same image you'd take normally so that it brings an area closer to you. It's like pinching into a photo in your gallery. Yes, what you're trying to look at becomes bigger, but it doesn't get any clearer. Another important thing. How is the battery life? One of the reasons I'd always recommend a Plus version of the iPhone over the standard one is battery life. Many people have gotten used to carefully managing their daily phone use to make sure their phone doesn't run out before the end of the day. I don't like doing that, which is why I prefer phablets such as the 7 Plus. While the 4.7-inch iPhone 7 disappointed me even compared to other small phones, the 7 Plus is a beast that keeps going and going. I regularly plug it into charge late at night with 30% or more battery to spare. That gives me confidence. Asked how much better is it than the iPhone 7? Well, I was disappointed that I only managed to get a little over 6 hours of constant use out of this smaller iPhone. The 7 Plus betters that by some margin. I managed to get an extra 3 hours of screen-on use with the 7 Plus during testing. That included 2 hours of streaming video and an hour of browsing the web over 4G. Superb. It is clear that iPhone 7 Plus is one of the best phones in this age and obviously much more featured than iPhone 7. I would recommend you to buy it without even thinking. Well, if you decided to buy iPhone 7 Plus, there is a link below to help you. Thank you.